Welcome back to another unscripted, extemporaneous ramblings of a madman. This is going to be one of those videos that we take a look at history and try to apply it to us today. I'll let everyone gather into the chat, let people fill in so that we're not, losing them and they don't have to come in halfway through the conversation. So to all the channel members out there, welcome. Patreon members, welcome. If he's tuned in at this time, thank you to the channel member who essentially has made a lot of these videos possible by allowing me to take possession of some of these coins and do productions on them, discussions on them, use them as examples, kind of passing on some of his coinage to us to be able to share them to all of you, the viewers, the stacking community. It's somewhat overwhelming. I have a significant amount of historical and Roman coinage that essentially spans the length of the Roman Empire. A few of them are, not today, all of the ones you're going to see today are originals. I have some copies, you've seen them, but for today's video, I wanted to select all original coinage. I may bring out coins that are not currently visible to discuss if we have more time. I mean, I could make a video on each one of these coins, and that video could last hours, a full day. I mean, you could have an entire class on just one video of just one of these coins here for a video. And I just don't have the time to do that, to make, multiple hour videos on individual coins. In the future, perhaps. But I selected a handful of Roman coins today. We've been discussing this since this channel was born. Every once in a while I'll introduce to you guys a topic that I myself recently may have learned, and I think that it's fascinating and riveting, and so I'll bring it to all of you and we can kind of look at it and talk about it. Like recently, the edict on maximum prices. Some of these coins are going to kind of surround that time period a little bit. Some come before, some come after. And just to give you an example of the amount of materials and coins I have to work through to get these Roman videos out, I'll just show you really quick. Let me grab this piece of paper over here. This actually correlates with the coins that I have here. This is just a document that spans the entire Roman Empire. And throughout it is different emperors, different coins, different mints, and correlating with each one of those coins is a document similar to this. I've got printed out documents that are anywhere from 4, 5 to 10 pages long, all of them discussing the individual coins in detail. So today we're going to start with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 of them are the same, so we'll just call it 5 coins, but 2 of these Denarius from Trajan, one of them I owned prior to this collection coming to me. And so we've got double of the silver Denariuses from the Emperor Trajan. The first coin, these are numerically numbered. It's the way that I can keep track of them. It's the best way to keep track of them because there's so many, otherwise I can't put them back in the right places. It's coin number 22. That's what we'll refer to it as. This is coin 22 in the Roman Empire coin series. I actually removed this coin from its holder for you guys because I want you guys to be able to see the detail, the exquisite detail on this coin. Now this is a Trajan. Now this is a sestertius. Now I'll let you look at this first. This is a Trajan. It's a bronze sestertius. Ancient Rome, 114, 117 AD. Again, this coin was struck anywhere from, according to the other document, 98 to 117 AD. But I want you to look at the detail, the absolute exquisite detail of this bronze coin here. And it's quite large, as you can see. It's much larger than a denarius, this bronze sestertius. And we're going to go into some detail on it, but just take a look here. Admire the exquisite detail that was done in the ancient world to carve the dies in order to strike such a remarkable coin, such a hefty coin. It's quite thick, actually. And there's a kitty trying to come around here to inspect what we're doing. But there's Trajan. And just to give you some comparison of his features, I'll hold up a couple silver denarius for you. We're going to talk about them in a moment. But you can see remarkable resemblance to the bronze sestertius here, and then the silver denarius. And here's another Trajan denarius here as well. So very similar features. Obviously the same man, the same emperor. Now let me try to prop this coin up as we talk about it, and I'll try to give you guys a view of it. Let's see how we go like this so you guys can see it, and without being distracted by the other coin's imagery and details. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get to the document here. We're going to talk about this sestertius. Again, Trajan 98 to 117 AD. The condition of this coin is very fine, as you can see. It was quite expensive, this piece. This coin, about 105 British pounds. And, I mean, I've never seen a Roman coin. I don't have one, I don't believe, of the bronze varieties that is of this kind of condition and detail. It weighs around 27.48 grams. It's 35 millimeters. Emperor Trajan, Imperator. Trajan was adopted by the Emperor Nerva in October of AD 97, at which point he assumed Nerva as part of his name. And you can see the different the writing on there in detail around the edge. I'm going to get to the, it says Pontific, there it is, Pontifex Maximus Tribunica Protestus Consul Six Pater Patriae. The literal meaning of which is high priest, tribune of the people, consul for the sixth time, father of the country, the laureate and the draped bust. The reverse, Regna ad signata SC. Turn that around for you guys so you can see it. Here's the reverse. Working in very tight spaces right now. There we go. You can see it there. Senatus, and that Regna ad signata designated the kingdom. SC, which stands for Senatus Consulta, with permission of the Senate. Again, this was a republic. The emperor in military attire is seated left on a raised podium flanked by two officers. Before him stand three kings, one of whom gestures in supplication. There's a rough black patina on this coin, but as you can see there, the three kings, the emperor. And now let's read about this 19th year of the emperor, the Roman times. Peace comes to the empire. Trajan, and there's a lot of information here, and we've got a lot of coins to go through, so I'm not going to go into all of it. But Trajan was born Marcus Ulpius Traianus, 18th of September, 53 AD. To the 8th of August, 117 AD. He was the emperor from 98 AD to 117 AD. Officially declared by the Senate Optimus Princeps, or the best ruler, Trajan is remembered as a successful soldier emperor who presided over the greatest military expansion in Roman history, leading the empire to attain its maximum territorial extent by the time of his death. He is also known for his philanthropic rule, overseeing extensive public building programs and implementing social welfare policies, which earned him his enduring reputation as the second of the five good emperors who presided over an era of peace and prosperity in the Mediterranean world. And this is where it comes into the topics we like to discuss, my friends. Are you ready for it? The devaluation of the currency. In 107 AD, Trajan devalued the Roman currency. Now, this is hundreds of years before Diocletian's edict on maximum prices and before even further debasement and devaluation of the Roman denarius. But in 107 AD, Trajan devalued the Roman currency. He decreased the silver purity of the denarius from 93.5% to 89%. The actual silver weight dropping from 3.04 grams to 2.88 grams. Now, I would ask all of you, is there any coincidence there in being the emperor that essentially expanded the territory to its maximum extent. A major military leader, a soldier, who most likely required silver to expend on these wars. Is it any wonder that it was he who was forced, essentially, to debase and devalue the silver denarius? I would say that, no. I think that makes perfect sense. It lines up quite well with even the United States Empire's history. And here you can see a couple of, we're going to talk about these. These are silver denarius from Trajan. And they are a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller than silver denariuses, and of course of less purity, as we just read, that we've looked at in the past. If you want to go back in this channel's history, you'll see other coins of Rome that we've discussed, especially silver denarius coins of higher purity and a larger size. So he dropped the silver purity and the weight. This devaluation, coupled with the massive amount of gold and silver carried off after Trajan's Dacian wars, allowed the emperor to mint a larger quantity of denarii than his predecessors. So he expanded the money supply. Also, Trajan withdrew from circulation silver denarii minted before the previous devaluation achieved by Nero, something that allows for thinking that Trajan's devaluation had to do with political ends, such as allowing for increased civil and military spending. So, again, various emperors devalued the currency over the course of the Roman Empire. We just read about Nero, Trajan himself as well. And what did this allow him to do, perhaps for political ends? Well, it allowed for increasing civil and military spending, probably made some of his constituents happy, probably allowed for some of the welfare spending that the Roman emperors were somewhat notorious for. Bread and circuses. A lot of Roman citizens got free stuff, the gibs. I mean, if anything, I think the Roman Empire probably invented the idea of gibs. Just giving free bread, free things to the citizens to keep them passive, to keep them at bay, just buy their, essentially buy their permission, buy their, placate them and spoil them, just put them to sleep, help them accept whatever new edicts, whatever new rules or laws that might be seem unjust, to just put them aside because, hey, we're getting free bread. Let's not rock the boat. If anything, the Roman Empire kind of started to invent the whole idea of the matrix. Just put the masses to sleep, give them bread, give them entertainment, devalue, debase their currency, and then slowly erode their rights, laws, and tax them, take their sons away, send them off to war and kill them, expand the empire. And that's just, of course, it's like that's where it was founded, essentially. I would look at the civilization's course and say, you know what? That's really where some of this stuff started. Now, the Dacian Wars, Trajan's first principal wars were fought against the Dacians, who inhabited a large territory encompassing much of Central Europe, ranging from the river Danube in the south to the Black Sea in the east and encompassing the Carpathian Mountains. Dacia covered modern-day Romania and Moldova, as well as parts of Bulgaria, Serbia, Hungary, Poland, and the Ukraine. Oh, so it looks like my Roman ancestors were indeed fighting some of the Poles that my wife happens to descend from. Dacia had defeated Roman armies under the reign of Emperor Domitian, 81 to 96 AD, and Trajan wished to subdue what he still considered to be a threat. During the First Dacian War of 101 to 102 AD, Roman armies prevailed, forcing the Dacians, who were led by King Decebalus, to surrender. So you're part Dacian, Mrs. Maltby, because the Poles fell under the Dacian region of which Emperor Trajan was trying to fight, and they actually were victorious once, the Dacians, against the Romans. So you can be proud of yourself.
Well, a lot of people were victorious against the Romans on multiple occasions, particularly now in current day.
But the little Poles.
A variety of issues. Also, you need to drink water.
I've been drinking my hydration.
Well, you have to drink more.
Dacia defeated Roman armies under the reign of Emperor.
Tell Junius to drink water.
I'm hydrating. I am hydrating. She's worried about my medical conditions. I've been drinking water all morning.
You have a procedure tomorrow.
I will. Yes, I have to go to the doctor tomorrow, and I'm supposed to drink a lot of water today, and I have been. Dacia had defeated the Roman army, so let Mrs. Maltby be proud of that, but of course, I'm sure we ended up whooping them later. When Decebalus broke the terms of submission, I like that, terms of submission, in 105, Trajan would not again be content with surrender. After defeating the Dacians once more, he made their lands a Roman province in 106 AD. After suffering his final defeat to the Romans, Decebalus committed suicide. Trajan's column, erected in Rome in 113 AD, I've seen it, I've been there, commemorates the Dacian Wars, depicting both conflicts in separate reliefs. Made from marble, it stands 35 meters in height, including its pedestal, and features a viewing platform near the top. The Parthian War. Again, lots of wars under this man. In 113 AD, Trajan turned his sights to Parthia, now eastern Iran, with which Rome had had previous conflicts, mainly over the control of Armenia. Trajan wished to soundly defeat the Parthians and annex Armenia as a Roman territory. He did exactly this in 114, killing the king of Armenia, a relative of the Parthian king Osroes I, in the process. Trajan also took northern Mesopotamia, annexing it as well, so that would be in the Iraq region, before capturing and sacking the Parthian capital, Ctesiphon, and then advancing all the way to the Persian Gulf. Yet Trajan's forces were stretched by these conflicts and a series of Jewish rebellions in Cyprus, Egypt, Libya, and Mesopotamia. Rome could not hold on to southern Mesopotamia and withdrew, much like the United States withdraws from that region today, because we just can't hold it. And we shouldn't even be there. Trajan ordered his troops back to Syria and set out to return to Rome by boat, though he would never make it back. Already suffering from circulatory problems due to what he believed was poisoning, Trajan suffered a stroke and became partially paralyzed. He died soon after on the 9th of August, 117 AD, in Salamis, a Greek city on the south coast of Sicily. Trajan was a prolific builder in Rome and the provinces, and many of his buildings were erected by the gifted architect Apollodorus of Damascus. Notable structures include the Baths of Trajan, Trajan's Forum, Trajan's Column, Trajan's Bridge, Alcantara Bridge, Porto di Traiano of Portus, the road and canal around the Iron Gates, see the conquest of Dacia, and possibly the Alcanetar Bridge. Some historians also attribute the construction of the Babylon fortress in Egypt to Trajan. The remains of this fort is what is known as the Church of Mar Gergus and its surrounding buildings. In order to build his forum and the adjacent brick market that also held his name, Trajan had vast areas of the surrounding Capitoline and Cornel hills leveled. Trajan's legacy. Ancient sources on Trajan's personality and accomplishments are unanimously positive. Pliny the Younger, for example, celebrates Trajan. Let's get his face up there since we're talking about him in so much detail now. Where are we at? Trajan, are you there, my man? There we go. There's Trajan's face for you all. Take a close look at it. Pliny the Younger, for example, celebrates Trajan in his panegyric as a wise and just emperor and a moral man. Cassius Dio added that he always remained dignified and fair. A 3rd century emperor, Decius, even received from the Senate the name Trajan as a decoration after the setbacks of the 3rd century. Trajan, together with Augustus, became, in the later Roman Empire, the paragon of the most positive traits of the imperial order. Some theologians, such as Thomas Aquinas, discussed Trajan as an example of a virtuous pagan. In the Divine Comedy, Dante, following this legend, sees the spirit of Trajan in the heaven of Jupiter, with other historical and mythological persons noted for their justice. Also, a mural of Trajan stopping to provide justice for a poor widow is present in the first terrace of Purgatory as a lesson to those who are purged for being proud. So that, my friends, is the sesterces of Trajan, 98 to 117 AD. Wonderful large bronze coin. And now we're going to move on to the next topic, which is an ancient Roman denarius of Trajan. And then let's put that coin back over here. All right, now here you can see two Roman denarius of Trajan. These are both silver. I'll give you guys a good view of them up close. This one I got years ago, probably one of the first silver coins I ever acquired. And I'm going to let you see the obverse and the reverse of both of these at the same time as we discuss it. So that's what's nice about having two of the same coin, is you can essentially look at both of them. And they're both silver, by the way. Silver's been money for, as you know, approximately 7,000 years, so 6,500 years. All right. Here's the ancient Roman denarius struck under Trajan. Extra fine. This one here is extra fine. This one's a little more worn, but essentially the same coins struck around the same time period. These were issued by the Roman Emperor Trajan. These are about 19 millimeters in diameter, and they weigh approximately 3.12 grams. This one's 3.12 grams. I think this one might be a little lighter than that. The coin does have a little bit more wear. Looks like a smaller strike. Pontifex Maximus had a, now let's go to the laureate and draped bust to the right, as you can see. Now on the obverse of this coin, it has a lot of information. It has everything about the emperor, time, the Pontifex Maximus, how he was viewed by the Senate, saying things like, let me see if I can read it here. Consul has his name, of course, Trajan, Imperial Max, and then as you can see, let me just get it right in the view, there you go. His name off to the left there. Again, people in that time period relied upon essentially what was written on these coins in order to understand, who was their leader, who was the emperor, who recognized it. There was a lot of information passed on via these coins. And if you can see, this reverse might be a little more clear. You'll see the SPQR, Senatus Populus Roma. I think it's on there. Let me see. Quite worn. SPQR, right up on the top, you can see it. SPQR, Senatus Populus Roma, and it's just barely visible on that more worn denarius there. But again, the Senate and the people of Rome is what that stands for, SPQR. And you'll see that if you go to Rome, that's essentially everywhere. It's on storm drains, it's on the sidewalks, the cobblestone streets, it's on the buildings. It is everywhere. Consul, that's on there. COS stands for consul. V for the fifth time. PP, pater, patre, father of the country. SPQR, Senatus Populus Romanus, the Senate and the people of Rome. Optimo Principi, to the highest prince. Pax is standing left, holding a branch. The cornucopia, it's in the reverse there. You can see it. Trajan was granted his fifth consulship in 103, his sixth in 112. So this coin dates within this period. Again, a silver denarius struck under the Emperor Trajan. And it is a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter than coins we've looked at in the past, other denarius, which goes in line with what we just discussed moments ago about Trajan's coins becoming less weight, less purity. And remember, let's talk about denarius just a little bit. I did a big video, much more detail on the denarius, the word, what it used to purchase, and of course, goods, services, labor costs. The Roman Empire lasted for a very long time, and the amount of spices, goods, service, all the different things, wheat, barley, it didn't, labor costs, they changed over the course of the Roman Empire. But just for the sake of our discussion here, these are roughly the size, weight, and purity, let's just say, of about a silver dime, a mercury dime that you would be familiar with. And these held in them for many laborers about a day's labor. So consider that for a moment, that this amount of silver essentially reflected a day's worth of work or labor. Some earned more than that, some earned less than that, but roughly a day's labor in a silver denarius. And when you look at what they could purchase, again, that's all in the video that we've done on Roman denarii. So there you go. These are the Roman denarius struck under Trajan, who, as many emperors did, reduced their purity, reduced their weight and size, and had to use that in order to pay for war. What we're going to look at here a little bit later, this is another silver coin from ancient Rome. This is coin 27. Now this is called an Antoninus. That's the denomination, if I'm pronouncing it properly. Antoninus. Struck 243, 244 AD. It's silver. Gordian III. There's Gordian III right there. And I'll turn this coin several times as we discuss it. 4.36 grams, 22 millimeters. All right. Put it right there. You guys can check it out as we talk about it. Now, this is a rare, solid silver coin from Rome. Rome struck around 243 to 244 AD. Really very narrow time frame. I mean, they pretty much know when and where this coin was struck. This one struck at the Antioch Mint in ancient Syria, when part of the Roman Eastern Empire existed. Nice detail, some wear, good silver. Again, 22 millimeters. This is a little bit heavier than those Trajan denarius we just looked at. This is 4.36 grams. Beautiful coin, rare type. Caesar under Publius and Balbinus, April to July AD 238. Augustus AD 238 to 244. I'm going to read some history about Gordian III here and his rise to power. We'll talk about this coin here because it's pretty interesting. This is an interesting coin from ancient Rome. One history relates that on February 25th, 244 CE, Gordian III was killed near the city of Zytha on the Euphrates River. His body was returned to Rome, and the Senate was told the emperor died of natural causes. Still, others believe that Gordian III died in a battle against the Sassanids. He was deified under Philip I. The coin that's here that you're looking at was struck around 243 to 244 AD at Antioch Mint in the ancient Syria, when the Roman Empire held that region. And if you look at the obverse, let's turn this around for you. There you go. Can you guys see that very well? I can even move it closer for you. All right. Imperial Gordianus Pius fell. Imperator, and the IMP stands for Imperator. Gordianus Pius Felix, which is pious and blessed. AUG, the V is a U. Augustus. Thank you, Sean Stellenberger, for the super chat there, my friend. Now look at the reverse here. Go again. Get that nice and clear for you so you can take a good look. All right. Radiate, okay, reverse, Pax Augusti, peace of the Caesars. Pax walking left, holding forward a branch in his right hand and scepter in his left hand. Gives you a good idea of, good view there. It's actually very well struck, very good details on that coin. Now, Gordian III. Now, until I started looking at Roman coins and really reading about them, I was never really familiar with Gordian. Gordian III, Latin Marcus Antoninus Gordianus, 20th of January 225 to 11th of February 244 AD. He was a Roman emperor from 238 to 244. At the age of 13, he became the youngest sole legal Roman emperor throughout the existence of the United Roman Empire. Gordian was the son of Antonia Gordiana and an unknown Roman senator who died before 238. Antonia Gordiana was the daughter of Emperor Gordian I and the younger sister of Emperor Gordian II. Very little is known of his early life before his acclamation. Gordian had assumed the name of his maternal grandfather in 238 AD. And since we're discussing Gordian, I'm going to have his obverse face there present. You wouldn't want to talk about him without him being here. You don't want to do that. It's rude. So there he is. Welcome to the conversation, Gordianus. In 235, following the murder of Emperor Alexander Severus in Maguntiacum, modern Mainz, the capital of the Roman province Germania Superior, Maximus Thrax was acclaimed emperor. In the following years, there was a growing opposition against Maximus in the Roman Senate and amongst the majority of the population of Rome. In 238, a rebellion broke out in the Africa province where Gordian's grandfather and uncle, Gordian I and II, were proclaimed joint emperors. This revolt was suppressed within a month by Capellianus, governor of Numidia, and a loyal supporter of Maximus Thrax. The elder Gordians died, but public opinion cherished their memory as peace-loving and literate men, victims of Maximinus's oppression. Meanwhile, Maximinus was on the verge of marching on Rome, and the Senate elected Pupienus and Balbinus as joint emperors. These senators were not popular men, and the population of Rome was still shocked by the elder Gordian's fate. So the Senate decided to take the teenage Gordian, rename him Marcus Antonius Gordianus, like his grandfather, and raise him to the rank of Caesar and imperial heir. Pupienus and Balbinus defeated Maximus. One thing that tells me is it's very apparent that a lot of times these were figureheads or puppet figures. There were other individuals, other people, other powers that controlled these emperors, just much like today. The executive branch and those who we think are in power are really just figureheads. They're just placed there as essentially a decoration. And the real power is from others that we do not see as much. So let's go back to that. Much like his grandfather, and raised him to the rank of Caesar and imperial heir. Pupienus and Balbinus defeated Maximinus, mainly due to the defection of several legions, particularly the Second Parthica, who assassinated Maximinus. However, their joint reign was doomed from the start with popular riots, military discontent, and an enormous fire that consumed Rome in June of 238. So there's some riots, military discontent, a large fire. And on July 29th, Pupienus and Balbinus were killed by the Praetorian Guard, and Gordian proclaimed sole emperor. And as a matter of fact, if you look at a picture of a marble statue of him, he does look quite young. Very, very young. Let me just zoom this out for you guys. There you go. Quite young, that marble bust. Continuing onward. Due to Gordian's age, the imperial government was surrendered to the aristocratic families who controlled the affairs of Rome through the Senate. See that? The rich aristocratic families controlling Rome through the Senate. What does that sound like? Very wealthy people controlling Rome, controlling the United States through the Congress. Does that sound familiar to those of you who are tuning into this and viewing this? Very much so. Look at just the recent birthday celebrations of a previous emperor, Emperor Obama. and all the celebrities, the guest list, the drugs and alcohol that flowed at the banquet. We'll call it a banquet, his large celebration. Again, treated like an emperor with rich aristocratic families there. No plebes were allowed, of course. No, the plebes are going hungry. The plebes are in quarantine. The plebes are locked up. The plebes are held from their jobs. But don't worry, Emperor Biden, he's out there issuing his edicts. Edicts on eviction moratoriums and edicts on this and edicts on that. Now, due to his age, the imperial government was surrendered to the aristocratic families who controlled the affairs of Rome through the Senate. In 240, Saturninus revolted in the African province, but the situation was quickly brought under control. In 241, Gordian was married to Furia, Sabinia Tranquillina, daughter of the newly appointed Praetorian prefect, Timesitheus. As chief of the Praetorian Guard and father-in-law to the emperor, Timesitheus quickly became the de facto ruler of the Roman Empire. In the 3rd century, the Roman frontiers weakened against the Germanic tribes across the Rhine and the Danube, and the Sassanid Empire across the Euphrates increased its own attacks. When the Persians, under Shapur I, invaded Mesopotamia, the young emperor opened the doors of the temple of Janus for the last time in Roman history and sent a large army to the east. The Sassanids were driven back over the Euphrates and defeated in the Battle of Raisina, 243. The campaign was a success, and Gordian, who had joined the army, was planning an invasion of the enemy's territory when his father-in-law died in unclear circumstances. Without Timesitheus, the campaign and the emperor's security were at risk. Gaius Julius Priscus, and later on his own brother, Marcus Julius Philippus, also known as Philip the Arab, stepped in at this moment as the new Praetorian prefects, and the campaign proceeded around February of 244. The Persians fought back fiercely to halt the Roman advance to Ctesiphon. The eventual fate of Gordian after the battle is unclear. Persian sources claim that a battle occurred, the Battle of Mesich, near modern Fallujah, Iraq, and resulted in a major Roman defeat and the death of Gordian III. Roman sources do not mention this battle and suggest that Gordian died far away from Mesich at Zytha, Kalat es Salayaya, in northern Mesopotamia. Modern scholarship does not unanimously accept this course of this event. One view holds that Gordian died at Zytha, murdered by his frustrated army, while the role of Philip is unknown. Other scholars, such as Kethofen, Hartmann, and Winter, have concluded that Gordian died in battle against the Sassanians. Scholarly analysis suggests the Persian version, while defective, is superior to the Roman one. Philip transferred the body of the deceased emperor to Rome and arranged for his deification. Gordian's youth and good nature, along with the deaths of his grandfather and uncle and his own tragic fate at the hands of the enemy, earned him a lasting esteem of the Romans. There's the Gordian Ananias coin that you just took a look at. A lot of history about this coin here. Now we're going to move on to coin number 28. This is where you start to see the devaluation again taking place on Roman coinage. And we have one more coin to go after this, but this is let me get this to stand up here for you. That adjusted for all of you to see. All right. Silver. This is silvered bronze, ladies and gentlemen. So this is, again, a coin that's mostly bronze. Trajan Gallus. This is a scarce ancient Roman coin from the Antioch Mint of 251 to 253 AD. Again, we'll call this coin 28 in the series. It's just a Roman coin, silvered bronze. The obverse, the legend reads Imp CC, UIB, Treb, Gale, and I'll translate this all for you. It's the bust of Tribonianus, Gallus, radiate draped bust, curious right, and the reverse we'll go into in a moment, Uberitus AVG. The obverse legend, Imperator Caesar, Civib stands for Civibius, Tribonianus, Gallus, Pius Felix, pious and blessed, Augustus. The bust of Tribonianus, Gallus, radiate bust, curious right. Let's go to the reverse for you as we read and discuss the reverse of this coin. Dropping Roman denarius all over the place. All right, the reverse. Legend Uberitus AUG. Uberitus means fertility. And Augustus. Uberitus, fertility, draped, standing left, holding a purse in the extended right hand, and a cornucopia, a horn of plenty, was a symbol of abundance and nourishment in the left hand. And again, this is silvered bronze, which gives it that peculiar look and discoloration. Obviously not high grade or pure silver. And it's not even proclaimed as being a denarius at this point of the empire. This is just a silver bronze Antoninus, I believe it would go by. Now, Gallus was born in Italy, in a family with a respected Etruscan senatorial background. He's actually from a similar region that part of my family is from. And he had 2 children in his marriage with Aphiniana Gemina Bibiana, Gaius Vibius Volusianus, later emperor, and a daughter, Vibia Galla. His early career was a typical cursus honorum, with several appointments, both political and military. He was suffect consul, and in 250 was made governor of the Roman province of Moesia Superior, an appointment that showed the confidence of Emperor Decius in him. Now again, look at the dates, 251, 253. It's about 100 years after we're looking at the Trajan silver here. Emperor has been in turmoil throughout this discussion. These later parts of the empire, the currency itself, the coinage being diluted. As a matter of fact, when you go forward from this part, and I'll show you a series of coins quickly. As you move forward in the Roman Empire, all you begin to see are bronze and copper coinage throughout the periods that we're looking at going forward, from essentially 300s, 200s AD, all the way up to 500, and again 1100 when we start looking at late Constantinople, Constantine, and the western and eastern halves of the Roman Empire. Again, the currency is being destroyed, and the empire itself just continually being weakened and weakened. And we talked about the Edict of Maximum Prices. If you really want to go into detail and look at that, and you'll really be able to understand, just how much trade was breaking down. And I've done video after video on Rome and the collapse based on its economic model and what they were doing. Their spending, the expansion of the empire, the dilution of currency, the removal of silver from currency. I mean, it's no coincidence there, ladies and gentlemen. It's no coincidence that as the economy broke down and as the denarius became weakened, that the empire itself began to fall apart at the seams. Now, in June 251, Decius and his co-emperor and son, Heronias Etruscus, died in the Battle of Abritus at the hands of the Goths. They were supposed to punish for raids into the empire. According to rumors supported by Dexippus, a contemporary Greek historian, and the 13th Sibylline oracle, Decius' failure was largely owed to Gallus, who had conspired with the invaders. In any case, when the army heard the news, the soldiers proclaimed Gallus emperor, despite Hostilian, Decius' surviving son, ascending the imperial throne in Rome. This action of the army and the fact that Gallus seems to have been on good terms with Decius' family makes Dexippus' allegation improbable. Gallus did not back down from his intention to become emperor, but accepted Justinian as co-emperor, perhaps to avoid the damage of another civil war. Again, this coin that we're discussing is a Tribonianus Gallus. That's the individual, it's the emperor of this coin. Anxious to secure his position at Rome and stabilize the situation on the Danube frontier, Gallus made peace with the Goths. Peace terms allowed the Goths to leave Roman territory while keeping their captives and plunder. In addition, it was agreed that they would be paid an annual subsidy. So there you have the government just essentially giving them money, buying them off. I guess you could call that foreign aid. Reaching Rome, Gallus's proclamation was formally confirmed by the Senate, with his son Volusianus being appointed Caesar. On June 24th of 251, Decius was deified, but by July 15th, Justinian disappears from history. He may have died in an outbreak of the plague. Gallus may have also ordered a localized and uncoordinated persecution of Christians. However, only 2 incidents are known to us: the exile of Pope Cornelius to Septimcale, where he died in 253, and the exile of his successor, Pope Lucius, right after his election. The latter was recalled to Rome during the reign of Valerian. Like his predecessors, Gallus did not have an easy reign. In the east, an Antiochian nobleman, Myriades, these names, I'll tell you, Myriades, revolted and began ravaging Syria and Cappadocia, then fled to the Persians. Gallus ordered his troops to attack the Persians, but Persian Emperor Shapur I invaded Armenia and destroyed a large Roman army, taking it by surprise at Barbarossa in 253. Shapur I then invaded the defenseless Syrian provinces, capturing all of their legionary posts and ravaging their cities, including Antioch, without any response. Persian invasions were repeated in the following year, but now Uranius Antoninus, a priest originally called Sampsiceramus, a descendant of the royal house of Emesa, confronted Shapur and forced him to retreat. Uranius proclaimed himself emperor, however, and minted coins with his image upon them. On the Danube, Scythian tribes were once again on the loose. Despite the peace treaty signed in 251, they invaded Asia Minor by sea, burned the great temple of Artemis at Ephesus, and returned home with plunder. Lower Moesia was also invaded in 253. Aemilianus, governor of Moesia Superior and Pannonia, took the initiative and defeated the invaders. Since the army was no longer pleased with the emperor, the soldiers proclaimed Aemilianus emperor, with a usurper supported by Poloctus threatening the throne. Gallus prepared for a fight. He recalled several legions and ordered reinforcements to return to Rome from Gaul under the command of the future emperor Publius Licinius Valerianus. Despite these dispositions, Aemilianus marched into Italy ready to fight for his claim and caught Gallus at Interamna, modern Terni. Before the arrival of Valerianus, what exactly happened there is not clear. Later sources claim that after an initial defeat, Gallus and Volusianus were murdered by their own troops, or Gallus did not have the chance to face Aemilianus at all because his army went over to the usurper, switched sides. In any case, both Gallus and Volusianus were killed in August of 253. Both of them killed in August of 253. Incredible times. I mean, just violence, upheaval, infighting, politics. Thank you, Irish Game Dog, for the super chat. I did not get to see exactly what you wrote because, let me see, I just found your channel. Thank you so much. Enjoy sitting back and taking it all in. Best wishes. Thank you, my friend, for the super chat. I appreciate it very much. It's always nice to have those that appreciate the content and appreciate the channel. Thank you for that. Then the last coin we're going to discuss as we move through this journey is a pretty remarkable coin. This is coin number 33. This is Constantine. This is a name all of you should be quite familiar with. Let me move these guys out of the way. I'll put Constantine front and center. This is Constantine the Great, Rome 312 to 313. Roman Empire is being absolutely divided at this point. You can see his face there, much like the busts that are famous across Rome and to this day. Now this coin number, again, 33. Roman coinage, bronze, struck in 312 to 313 AD. Constantine the Great. This is essentially the start of Christian Rome here. Genio Populi Romani. This is a 21 millimeter coin, Roman coin, about very fine condition. This is again Constantine the First, Constantine the Great, minted in Rome. On the obverse, Imperial Constantinus PF Ag. Again, Imperator Constantinus, Pius Felix, dutiful and wise. Augustus, the bust of Constantine I, the laureate, curiast to the right. Now we're going to go to the reverse here. Let me try to get that flipped over so you guys can see it. And here is the reverse of this coin. I'll try to hold it right there as I talk about it. Legend, Genio Populi Romani. Genio, to the genius. Populi, people of the Roman. Translation is Genio Populi Romani, to the genius of the Roman people. Genius wearing modius, nude, chlamys draped over left shoulder, standing left holding patera in the right hand, and a cornucopia in the left hand. The coin struck by Constantine to commemorate the founding of Constantinople. Let's see here. I'm going to put this back so you guys can just focus on Constantine as we read about this coin, this time period in Roman history. Again, all of these that you're looking at are originals. These are all original coins, ancient coins. It's amazing to think about what these coins may have purchased, acquired, paid for, who held them, who traveled with them, where did they visit, what did they see. Constantine I was a Roman emperor from 306 to 337, realizing that the Roman Empire was too large for one man to adequately rule. Emperor Diocletian, you guys know who he is, we just talked about him the other day. Emperor Diocletian, 284 to 305, split the empire into two, creating a tetrarchy, or a rule of four. While he ruled the east from Nicomedia as an Augustus, with Galerius as his Caesar, Maximian and Constantius the Pale ruled the west. It was the son of Constantius, Constantine, who would one day rise to defeat all challengers to the throne and reunite the split empire, moving the capital away from old Rome and build a new capital, a capital that one day would bear his name, Constantinople. What a major historical city. I can't imagine. I need to visit it one day. Now let's read about his early life. Hopefully you guys are still tuned in to this Roman morning, this Roman history here this Sunday. Early life, although sources vary on the exact year of his birth, Constantine Gaius Flavius Valerius Constantinus was born at Nisus in present-day Serbia as early as 272 or as late as 285. Since his father was not only a military commander but also the Caesar of the West, Constantine lived his entire early life in the imperial court, eventually serving as a high-ranking staff officer for Diocletian. Now, remember Diocletian, he was the one to come up with the Edict of Maximum Prices. We just discussed Diocletian the other day. And Constantine served as a high-ranking officer under Diocletian. Even in his youth, those around him saw Constantine as a man of boundless energy. Under the emperor's tutelage, he learned that a ruler's job was to defend the empire from any external force and to create a just and ordered society, something Constantine would put into practice when he became emperor himself. In May of 305, Diocletian and Maximian both abdicated their thrones to Galerius in the east, with Maximinus Dae as Caesar, and Constantius in the west, with Flavius Valerius Servius as Caesar. These appointments were not popular with everyone. Maxentius, the son of Maximian, and Constantine felt betrayed, each believing he deserved the appointment as Caesar. This omission would not be forgotten and would eventually lead to a long, bitterly fought battle over control of both halves of the empire. After Diocletian abdicated, Galerius, in an attempt to appease bitter feelings, permitted the disappointed Constantine to return to the west in 306 to serve under his father. Now, before Constantius succumbed to leukemia, the reason he was called the Pale, in July of 306 at York, Constantine had the opportunity to campaign with his father in Britain against the Picts. It was in Britain that the newly appointed Augustus earned the title Britannicus Maximus for the second time. After his father's death, Constantine continued to build a reputation as a man capable of rapid and decisive action. After his father's death, he continued to build this reputation with rapid and decisive action when in 307 he attacked the Franks. It was here that he proved he could act without mercy when he killed 2 Frankish kings by throwing them to beasts in the amphitheater at Trier. However, he could also show compassion, as when he restored church property that had earlier been confiscated. Slowly he gained the respect of the army, demonstrating to his men, even those older and more experienced, they could trust him. With the death of Constantius and the success of the war in Britain, many expected Constantine to be named the new Augustus in the West. However, Severus, Caesar, and close friend of Galerius, was promoted to the position, despite the claim that Constantius had named his son as Augustus on his deathbed. Regardless of the official decree, Constantine was declared Augustus by his men. Galerius, however, refused to recognize his declaration, naming himself Caesar instead. Not to be overlooked, Maxentius, who had also been overlooked in 305, ignored both Galerius and Constantine and declared himself Augustus in October 307. With the support of the people of Rome and the Praetorian Guard, he controlled Sicily, Corsica, Sardinia, and parts of North Africa. Eventually, as many as 6 different people would eventually claim control of the West. Because of his, and we're not there yet in this country. Wait for the days when you have different groups and sects and different parties, if you will, even, vying for power and claiming that they control parts of the United States or Americas. Imagine that. Those days are most likely coming. Eventually, as many as 6 different people claimed to control the West. Because of his friendship to Galerius, Severus was distrusted by both Constantine and Constantine's brother-in-law, Maxentius. And in order to defeat the new Augustus, they allied themselves with the former Augustus, Maximian, and joined forces against Severus. Unfortunately for Severus, who had received orders to stop Maxentius, his army deserted him, having been bribed by Maxentius. Fearing for his life, he fled to Ravenna, only to be captured and killed outside of Rome. His death prompted Galerius to unsuccessfully invade the West with an army. In 308, a new tetrarchy was formed, with the advice of Diocletian, with Licinius, an Illyrian army officer and friend of Galerius, as the new Augustus, and Constantine retaining his position as the Caesar. To add to the confusion, Maximian, who had been living at Constantine's court as an advisor, came out of retirement in 310, announcing himself as the new Augustus, claiming Constantine was dead. Constantine, who had been away fighting the Franks, hunted him down outside of Marseilles. The city had refused to grant him assistance, and in desperation, Maximian hanged himself. Or he Hillaried himself. Back then it was, they didn't really know the term Hillary yet, but he Hillaried himself. Meanwhile, Maxentius's tenure in Rome was waning. He had lost his popularity with the citizens of Rome, overtaxing them in order to build a new basilica and a large statue of himself. His attempt for the people had resulted in a series of riots which only ended with the massacre of several thousand Romans. These must have been mostly peaceful riots. Constantine waited patiently and watched as the empire in the west began to self-destruct, and then, gathering an army of 40,000, he crossed the Alps and invaded Italy. Constantine then became emperor. And then, of course, if you've been to Rome, you can see the Arch of Constantine, an incredible arch built by him. With little support in the city, Maxentius left Rome to meet Constantine in one final crucial battle, the Battle of Milvian Bridge in 312. On the day before the battle began, Constantine reportedly looked to the sky where he saw the sign of the cross superimposed over the sun. Under it was the inscription in hoc signo vene, or conquer by this sign. That night, in a dream, he received an explanation of the sign. Christ appeared before him, telling him to carry the cross into battle. The following day, old banners were replaced with new ones displaying the sign of the cross. Although outnumbered, Constantine easily defeated Maxentius, who fled back to Rome. However, before reaching the city, he fell into the river and drowned. His body was discovered the next morning among the corpses of many others. This victory is seen by historians as a turning point in history, a fusion of church and state. Constantine immediately assumed complete control of the West as the new Augustus in the West. He marched into Rome. One of his first acts was to issue the Edict of Milan, a toleration of all religions. It would later be co-signed by Licinius. In the east, Galerius and Maximinus Dei were serving as Augustus and Caesar. After Galerius died from cancer on his deathbed, he rescinded all anti-Christian edicts. Maximinus and Licinius fought for control of the east, eventually splitting that part of the empire between them. Licinius got the Balkans, while Maximinus got Asia Minor and the eastern provinces. This arrangement was not to last, and in 313, the two fought on the plains of Thrace. Like Constantine at Milvian Bridge, Licinius fought under the sign of the cross. However, he died not because of his faith, but only to gain the support of the Christians. His opponent, Maximinus, had promised to eradicate them. Despite inferior numbers, Licinius was victorious, and after the suicide of Maximinus, seized control of the east. To be safe and secure in his right to the throne, he immediately executed the sons of both Galerius and Severus, the family of Maximinus, and even Diocletian's daughter. He just executed everybody. An uneasy truce existed between Licinius and Constantine, partially because Licinius had married Constantine's half-sister, Constantia. In their first meeting on the battlefield in October of 316, Constantine defeated him at Cybele. A second battle near Hadrianopolis ended with land secessions in the Balkans to Constantine. Over the next few years, Licinius' attitude towards the Christians changed, with both executions and the destruction of several Christian churches. This was enough to prompt Constantine to gather an army and defeat Licinius in a second battle at Hadrianopolis. The defeated commander fled the battlefield, escaping against the Bosporus. In September of 324, Licinius was finally defeated at Chrysopolis and surrendered. Licinius hoped to return to life as a private citizen, which Constantine initially granted, but he went back on his word, and Licinius was hanged in 325. Even his 9-year-old son was killed. Constantine's victory would reunite the empire. Byzantium. The 52-year-old Constantine was now the sole emperor of the empire, and with it a sense of stability returned. Constantine realized that old Rome was not the city he wanted for a capital, and despite several of the building projects he instituted, it was decaying. As you can imagine, Rome was falling apart. So what better way to change things up than build a new city or found a new city, which is what he did. Rome was no longer practical. Constantine even disbanded the Praetorian Guard, and Nicomedia was never considered, for it had been the capital of Diocletian. A new capital was needed, and although he thought about the site of ancient Troy, Constantine finally saw what he wanted: Byzantium. The ancient city was strategically located on the European side of the Strait of Bosphorus, so it would control traffic to and from the Black Sea. It also provided an excellent harbor, the Golden Horn, and therefore could be easily defended. If you all have ever read the book 1453, The Clash of Islam in the West, it's about the fall of this. But this amazingly defended city, what became Constantinople in the Byzantine period, an amazing location and very, very well defended. They rebuilt the city into one of his vision. He brought in artisans and resources from across the empire. There were wide avenues and statues of Alexander, Caesar, Augustus, Diocletian, and of course Constantine. He rebuilt the walls, and he built cisterns and Christian churches, Hagia Irene, the pagan temples, and was a city remained classically inspired by a Christian god. In 330, the city was finally dedicated, and it didn't fall until 1453.
Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople.
And I think we should make it Constantinople again. Make Istanbul Constantinople again. That's what I say.
That's because the Italians dropped the ball.
Constantine and Christianity. During his years of warfare in the West, he had always demonstrated religious tolerance with both pagans and Christians. He claimed to be a Christian since 312. His mother, Helena, was a devout Christian, and after Constantine became emperor, he sent her on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, where she had built the Church of the Nativity at Bethlehem. Although he had been a worshiper of the sun god in his youth, and while some claimed he did not become baptized until his deathbed, he still gave every indication that he was a devoted Christian. He is even credited by many historians with making Christianity the official religion of the empire, although others credit Emperor Theodosius, despite the fact that pagan symbols of Sol Invictus and Mars appeared on his coins. While he tolerated certain pagan religions and religious practices, pagan sacrifices were forbidden. Temple treasures seized, gladiatorial contests ended, and Christians disliked them. Crucifixions were abolished, and laws were enacted against sexual immorality and ritual prostitution. In 325, Constantine invited clerics from across the empire to a conference at Nicaea, where he made a plea for unity. The result of the conference was not only a condemnation of Arianism, but also the Nicene Creed, a definition of what it meant to be a Christian. 1 year later, in 326, Constantine had his religious faith tested when he had his own son, Crispus, from his first wife Minervina, killed, falsely accused of adultery. According to sources, Constantine's second wife, Fausta, made the accusations against Crispus, who had fought beside his father and governed the western provinces, because she was in love with him, but he had rejected her. She later committed suicide when it was proven that the accusations were false. Constantine regretted the action for the remainder of his life. So he killed his wife, his second wife, because she was in love with his son, and he refused her advances. What a crazy family dynamic that was. Death. Constantine maintained his role as a military commander, fighting the Alemanni in 328 with the assistance of his son Constantius II, defeating the Goths in 332 by starving them into submission, and lastly capturing lost territories from Dacians, territories that were later lost after his death. His last wish was to conquer neighboring Persia after their king, Shapur II, had invaded Armenia. However, it was not to be. In 337, Constantine fell ill and he died. He had ruled for 31 years. He was buried at the Church of the Holy Apostles in Constantinople, leaving his empire in the hands of his three sons, Constantine II, Constantinius II, and Constans, with Constantinius II eventually defeating his brothers and ruling the empire by himself. And then that is that. That is the conclusion of the death of Constantine, his rise to power, the founding of Constantinople. And ladies and gentlemen, as you've seen, the currencies of Rome follow this course and this destruction throughout. Until next time, when I can go into some further coins and extensive discussions and readings on this, use this as an example. As we've seen the decline and fall of Rome, the dilution of currency, the expansion of the Roman Empire, military debacle after military debacle, infighting, political destruction. You've seen it. Influence, Senate and Congress being controlled. The Senate, same word. I mean, Congress is essentially synonymous with it, similar to what we have today. Their Senate being influenced and controlled by outside wealthy aristocratic families, seeking power, the entanglements of religion, the use of religion eventually to control the masses and people as well. All of it leading to the absolute destruction and fall of Rome. Thank you, Kalna, for the super chat. I've seen and thanked all of you for your super chats, each and every one of you that supports this channel, donates, and takes part in these historical discussions. I'm glad you all were here for this today. I know it's boring content, but again, I have to keep it real. This is the most boring channel on YouTube, but again, it's fun. We have a good time discussing these things, and I appreciate each and every one of you that participated in this discussion of Roman coinage. And again, thank you to the channel member, my friend, who gave us this wonderful little prop, this thing to display both raid coinage on and coins like this when we discuss them. It's actually serving a very good purpose, and it's even engraved the Maltbys. So thank you to our channel friends for all of the support that you have given and shown us over this time. And again, the name for the channel member here that provided this wood creation, this very artistic prop, is Lurky Brewster. That's what he goes by. You'll see him in the chat sometimes. So again, thank you, Lurky Brewster, for this little amazing raid display, but also a display that we can use for coinage and discussions like today. It has a very good weathered and antique appearance to it, as if these just arrived on a ship here to the Junius Maltby channel. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your Sunday. I know it was long, and I will drink some water, and I will hydrate and have electrolytes. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves.